Warmachine board, battle with war.
Hi there, got something a bit different today. Got a tournament report. We're playing a mini tournament today. It's only 4 players, including myself, and we've also got our regular Crix player, got Bent playing his Retribution list, and a new player playing Khador. And I just thought before the tournament starts I'd just go through my list and the other players' lists, and then have a little go at predicting how the games will go. So my list is very similar to my previous Maddox list. I've changed it a little bit. I took out the Stormblades and I've taken out the Squire. So it's Maddox with 2 Stormclads in her battle group. And then I've got the Journeyman Warcaster, but instead of a Firefly he or she has got a Centurion attached. Then I've got 2 minimum units of Stormlancers. And I've also got trenchers with the officer and sniper, 1 rifle, grenadier, and Finn attached. So I took out the storm blades and put in the trenchers because I felt like the storm blades weren't really affecting the game enough. And trenchers are pretty okay with Maddox as well. You can put snipe on them. Her feet is pretty good with them. Power 14 charges are nice with reach as well. They got combined ranged attack, which is nice for taking out solos. And because I got trenchers, I put in Finn. Now this isn't the final version of my list. Eventually, I'm going to have a version with the 2 small units of Stormlancers and Lattimore attached, and then I'll swap out the Centurion for a back to the Firefly. But I still don't have that Lattimore model, and I didn't want to do any proxying today, so we got the Centurion. I'm going to try it out. Might be quite useful getting him up in the middle of the battle and making him impossible to charge, and we'll see how that works out. So generally speaking, if I get first turn, I'll be deploying with Maddox with the Stormclads next to her, and the Journeyman and the Centurion in the middle. 1 unit of Stormlancers on either flank, and then the trenchers obviously advanced deploying in the centre. And if I get first turn, I'll be looking to possibly close any cautious opponents completely out of scenario with the Stormlancers and the trenchers, and maybe end the game quickly that way. And if I get second turn, then I'll be trying to use the same tactics that I used last time against Bent, in that I will try and avoid the Alpha Strike and try and get the Alpha Strike myself, which with the Stormlancers always helps. And feat turn will probably be turn 2, certainly if I get second turn, maybe turn 3 if I've got a cautious opponent. So what am I up against? So I have no idea who I'm playing and when, or even if I'm playing everyone, depends on time. So our first opposing list is our Khador guy. He's bringing Butcher 1 with Ruin attached and a Destroyer. That's the battle group. He's also bringing the character Journeyman Warcaster Malakov with the Juggernaut. He's got Winter Guard with the officer, 2 Rocketeers and Kovnik Joe. He's got Iron Fangs with the officer and Standard and the Iron Fang Kovnik, and a load of Widowmakers. So this is kind of an infantry heavy Khador list, but it's also got 3 jacks with probably a red-lined Juggernaut, which is quite fast and quite disturbing. So I'll be looking to try and take out Malakov to try and neutralise the Juggernaut. I think that would be easier than trying to kill the Juggernaut. Then lots of infantry, not too worried. The Iron Fangs would be approximately the same as the Halberdiers in Retribution. Don't want to get charged by them, but I will probably be able to get a drop on them. Widowmakers I'm not too worried about because the trenchers, the 1 wound infantry that I've got, but they've all got very high defence when they're dug in, so I think the Widowmakers I can almost ignore this time. And yeah, Winter Guard, lots of infantry, not really a problem against trenchers. Trenchers really kill Winter Guard these days. And Ruin is pretty fast and sort of generates his own fury. So we'll wait and see. I've never played against this Khador player before, so we'll see if he's a cautious player. Then hopefully I'll be able to whittle down his infantry. And yeah, if he's not cautious, then I'll be looking to assassinate the butcher somehow, maybe. Then up against Chris with his cricks. He's running Gorshade 2 today. He's the Gorshade that runs the. You can generate a unit of Banes on his feet turn. And he's spamming some jacks. He's got 2 Slayers and 2 Reapers. And then he's got Tartarus, of course, because he's bringing Bane Warriors and Bane Knights. And then loads of solos. He's got 3 Machine Wraiths and 2 Warwitch Sirens. Now, I think the Warwitch Sirens will be hanging back and powering the jacks, because they can give them some extra focus. But I'm a little bit worried about the Machine Wraiths. In fact, this list is the one I'm most worried about playing against, because with the Machine Wraiths I have to play very carefully with my jacks. I don't have any magical weapons for killing incorporeal Machine Wraiths, apart from my 2 Warcasters, the Journeyman and Maddox. So it's possible that I'll be able to tempt him out and possibly get him in charge range of either of my 2 Warcasters, maybe the Journeyman, maybe tempt him out with the Centurion who can't be charged. But otherwise I have to be very careful that if his Machine Wraiths are within 11 inches of any of my jacks, that none of my important pieces are within about 7 inches of any of my jacks, to prevent them walking up and killing me. So yeah, I think he's got a reasonably strong assassination sort of early game angle, but once the Machine Wraiths make their attacks, then they shouldn't be too difficult to take down. The Banes are all very slow, so I imagine they'll be coming up almost behind the jacks. 2 Slayers and 2 Reapers, not too worried about. The Reaper shooting's pretty okay, and the Slayers should be not too difficult to take out, especially on feet turn. So we'll see. He's a cautious player, he doesn't like getting assassinated, so that's out. He plays very carefully with Gorshade. So again, it's dealing with the Machine Wraiths, or at least mitigating what they can do, and then hopefully taking out most of his stuff. There's a list that turns your army against you, especially with Tartarus in there. So yeah, we'll see, but it will depend probably on turn 2 as usual, and it'll depend how clever he is with his Machine Wraiths, I reckon. And then finally we got Bent. He's playing as Retribution, and it's the same Helynna list as last time. So I will be playing that the same way as last time, probably. Hopefully I'll get first turn as usual. If not, then I'll be trying to tempt him into taking a Alpha Strike to the face. Anyway, the list is Magister Helynna. It's got a Phoenix, 2 Manticores, a Griffin, an Aspis, and a Chimera, which is a lot of jacks. I think he'll have problems against the Crix player as well. 2 Arcanists for extra focus. Got Iris for causing problems on the flanks. 2 heavy rifle teams, which have been quite good. And the Halberdiers, of course, with the Solus Escort. Actually, he's probably playing the extra Arcanist and not having the Solus Escort. And the Officer and Standard for the Halberdiers. So against Bent, I'll be watching him out for him spreading out his Halberdiers against my list this time. And if he does, then I'll be shooting them with the trenches, so it's a bit nasty. Because of what he did last time, his Halberdiers died very quickly. But this time I don't think he has an option. He's either going to get charged by Storm Lancers when he's in formation, in his shield wall formation, or he's going to get shot to pieces by trenches if he spreads out. And then, yeah, it's just important to get the Alpha Strike. So the trenches are going to be sacrificial. Try to take out the Halberdiers with either trenches or lancers, and then get the Alpha Strike on his heavies. I think last time he decided that against my list that it would be better to sacrifice his lights in order to get his heavies into combat. So we'll see if that works out. So yeah, so that's my thoughts about my opponents and their lists. Hopefully I'll get first turn every time. It's not very likely, unfortunately. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'll just be reporting on my games or on all of the games. We're going to get in at least 2 games each, and if not 3, depending on how quickly the victories happen. But looking at the list, I think there's going to be a lot of attrition. So we might have some slow games. But we are playing with Death Clock. So we are all slow players. So hopefully Death Clock will encourage people to make some mistakes and get the games finished a bit earlier. Yeah, so quite excited. Most worried about the Crix list because of the machine wraiths. Got experience against Bent's Retribution list, so it's a strong list, but I feel like my list can take it. And the Khador is the big unknown, because I don't know what kind of player he is, but the list looks like it's going to be attrition. Anyway, so that's it, and see you on the other side. Okay, so I'm back on the other side of our mini tournament, and got a couple of BatReps for you. So the way it worked out for time and everything, everyone got 2 games. So I managed to get a game against Bent with his Retribution and against Thies with his Khador, and unfortunately didn't get to play Christian with his Crix. Although his list was the one I feared the most with my list, so maybe next time I'll get a chance to play him, but I wasn't too disappointed to get smashed by machine wraiths. So we played on a 1 hour death clock, which was quite interesting. It was quite kind of a loose death clock, so when the time ran out, we decided whether or not we wanted to carry on playing or not. And so my first game was up against Bent with his Retribution. You've already heard the list. He got the first go, so I chose the table edge. As you can see here, I chose the table edge with the most room and tried to force him through the gap between the lake and the house. So he got first go, and he set up with his halberdiers in the centre, ready to go through the gap and hopefully jam up whatever I send up against him. He set up his Pathfinder models on the left to cross the lake, and all the heavies are on the right. And then the rifle team are over by the lake as well. Rifle teams, I should say. Helynna's at the back. I set up with all my heavies in the centre, with a view to smashing my way through to dominate the zone. As you can see, it's just a single zone with the 2 objectives here. So at this point, my feat would have been intended to destroy his objective and push his lines backwards out of the zone, maybe in turn 2. So with a view to that, I've got all my heavies in the centre, Maddox between the 2 Stormclads, as she's going to want to cast some spells before moving forward, and then the Stormclads will more than follow her up. And then flanking are the 2 units of Storm Lancers. Plenty of space on either side for them to get round nice and wide on the flanks and then head back into the centre on feet turn. And then for advanced deployment, trenches in the middle, dug in and ready to possibly get snipe and possibly do some extra damage on the feet turn. So first turn, Bent moved up. As predicted, most of his models in the centre. The Phoenix is sneaking around the house on the right, and I can't remember what the light jack is with the halberd, but he's in the water there. He's got Pathfinder, and then on the far left is the Mage Hunter Assassin command attachment, who is being Iris 2 in this game, going quite a long way over to one side. Turned out to cause me quite a lot of problems, Iris 2 in this game. And he's also laid down, you can see the white bit of paper there, that's the covering fire template. Then my next turn, so obviously I didn't want to get charged, so I was a little bit cautious moving up. If I'd got first turn I would have moved up a lot further than this, but as it is I just wanted to keep my Lancers away from Iris, who I knew could potentially take one of them out on the first turn. As it is, I think that was probably a bit of a mistake on the left there to hold the Lancers back. I think they should have been played a bit more aggressive and just accepted the loss from Iris probably. The trenches have got snipe on them and did a cautious advance, moved up and took a couple of shots. So I believe let's check the previous one. Yeah, so I think I got quite lucky and took out a couple of his halberdiers, maybe 3 of them. Yeah, the Lancers on the right didn't want to get charged by the Phoenix, so giving that a bit of space there. Basically just waiting for the halberdiers to come up and try and jam so I could clear them out. Stormclads both together on one side of the objective and the Centurion on the other side of the objective. Got a sail up on the Centurion because of the extra movement, so I was able to charge in the first turn rather than run, which gave me an extra inch of movement and just towing into the zone there. Arcane Shield up on the left hand Lancers and what's the Resolve one? The Armour one and the Tough. Dauntless Resolve on the right hand Lancers. Yeah, so that's it. So moving on to Bent's next turn. Yeah, so as predicted, the halberdiers are up, but not as predicted. The covering fire templates are down. Now the Storm Lancers have got enough armour to probably ignore the one in front of them on the right there, but this one in the centre is preventing Finn from doing anything. He's been attacked and knocked down to 2 boxes, and now if he walks through that area he's going to die probably, so that really neutered him. Also Iris took a shot at the Centurion which disrupted it, which really sort of took it out of the game more or less, so that Centurion can't really do anything, and he also put a spell on that to get extra dice against it. Yeah, and the halberdiers are up. I think took out maybe 1 or 2 trenches. I was making some tough rolls, I think, and the Pathfinder light on the left there has also taken out 1 of the trenches. Other than that, the heavies are all moving up and the guns have moved up. And then my turn. So on this turn I believe I feated, and so as you can see on the left, the Lancers have moved in on that light. The Centurion has moved up to the light as well. The trenches are still there. They've moved in a little bit. I think Finn just took a free strike and died. That was the alternative to going through the covering fire template. And yes, and I think I lost one of my Storm Lancers to the covering fire template, I believe, on the right as well. Starting to slip my memory now, it was a few days ago. So yeah, it was a pretty terrible turn. I didn't do anywhere near enough killing that I should have. Oh, I think Bent put his feet up on this turn as well. He also had an anti-shooting spell up, which was very good. But the main thing was I rolled terribly. I hate blaming the dice, I really do, but I really felt like in this game I couldn't hit anything, and when I hit I didn't do any damage. So yeah, I mean sometimes the dice can get you, but yeah, I think maybe I wasn't playing quite as aggressively as I should have. So really this just left me the following turn to try and claim the zone, to try and clear out the zone, which wasn't very easy. So Bent's turn, you can see that the rest of my Storm Lancers are all gone. The Storm Blades still haven't moved and done anything significant. Unfortunately, they're lining up for charges against the Phoenix on the right hand side and the Manticore that's in the zone there. Oh, I think this was the turn I feated actually. Yeah, I think this is probably my feat turn coming up. So after this, after Bent's turn. So he hasn't managed to take down any of the other Storm Lancers on the other side. Iris is keeping that Centurion from getting any focus and from being of any use, but he's at least towing into the zone and being difficult to remove. So yeah, so the main thing was the Storm Lancers had gone on this turn. And the next turn, yeah, so you can see here that my first Stormclad charged up and failed to kill the Manticore that was in the zone. Ideally I should have been able to finish him off and the objective, but I just didn't roll very well. Then we've got one of the last trenches, and the Stormlance and the Journeyman Warcaster trying to block the Phoenix from getting into the zone on the right, and from charging Maddox for the assassination. And otherwise just clearing out the halberdiers and trying to remove that last heavy from the zone. Unfortunately I didn't make it, didn't score any points. And then you can see that I managed to get... so this is after the next 2 turns, I think. So the Bent's heavies on his turn on the right didn't manage to do much, apart from kill a trencher, I believe. As you can see, I've really pushed into the zone and really trying to clear out the stuff. And I think during Bent's turn this time, I believe he deathclocked himself. I think he ran out of time. So if I was being really mean, I could have just said, like, that's it, I've won. But I decided not to. I decided to be nice about it, and I let him finish his turn, and I finished my next turn, and I tried to clear him out of the zone and tried to assassinate Helynna, and it just wasn't working out. So in the end, Bent got a point for having destroyed my objective, and in the end that means that he won. It was quite interesting. I was very confident in going into this game because I thought I could win quite easily, but it was the matchup that I'd given the least thought to during planning, and I think that really shows. So I think I wasn't aggressive enough. I think Bent was a lot more aggressive than he was on the last game, and so that means in the same matchup he managed to attrition me, basically. So the Stormclads really didn't do much. Finn really didn't do much. The Storm Lancers didn't get their high impact feat turn. The Centurion got disrupted for most of the game, and so my whole army was really not as effective as it should have been. The trenches just rolled terribly and didn't really kill enough stuff. I think I killed more models, but it just wasn't good enough to score enough points. So then I ended up playing against Thies with his Khador. The list I've already put at the beginning of the this video. So against Thies I had much more of a plan. My deployment, he won first turn and I chose sides, and it's the same table but a different scenario, but I still chose the more open table edge, again to try and squash him through the gap between the lake and the house. He set up first. He's got his Winter Guard way over on the right hand side. He's got his heavies on the right hand side of the centre, and he's got his Iron Fangs pikemen on the left of the centre. Butcher's right in the centre, I think, or he's behind the heavies. I think he's probably behind the heavies there. And then the advanced deployed riflemen, no, what are they called? Widowmakers, in the lake. So against his list I wasn't too concerned about the Widowmakers, because I feel like the Widowmakers can't hit the trenches, but the trenches can hit the Widowmakers, especially with Finn there. And the Widowmakers aren't going to do an awful lot against my cavalry or my jacks. They could probably take out the Journeyman Warcaster, but she's on the other side of the table. I put my Stormclads in the centre. As always, they want to get the feet charge, so that's what they're there for. So the smallest distance between them and the enemy army. And flanking the Jacks and Maddox, I've got the 2 units of Stormlancers once again. Always seems a good idea to have them on the flanks because of their speed. And then the Centurion and Journeyman Warcaster I've got right over on the right hand side, actually in the centre right, because my whole army is over on the left a bit. But yeah, on the centre right, got the Centurion with a view to towing into that zone on the right and parking there and stopping him from scoring it. So Thies went first, and this photo is after both of our turns are finished. I think I only took photos after each round rather than each turn, but you can see Thies moved all of his stuff up to the middle except for the Winter Guard, who were on the right, all running up. The Iron Fangs did a special thing where they can stay in shield wall but can still move quite a long way. You'll notice that the Widowmakers are gone, and that's because I had a really good round. I used my trenches to shoot them and managed to take them all out. I put snipe on the trenches to keep them at a distance. Did a cautious advance and then took them all out. I think I even took out a couple of Iron Fang pikemen with the last couple of shots. So it was frankly a pretty ridiculous first turn for the trenches. Really made up for the bad rolling I did against Bent. Other than that, we've got the Centurion doing exactly what it was supposed to do, just getting into the zone on the right. We've got Arcane Shield up on the Storm Lancers on the right as well, and they've moved up. Storm Lancers have moved up a long way on the left because I'm confident that I'm far enough away from the Iron Fangs. As it turns out, I wasn't, but Thies decided not to charge that way in the first turn anyway. Stormclads straight out the middle, and one thing that I've noticed with this list is that the Stormclads and Maddox tend to sort of trip up on the heels of the trenches on the first turn, so I need to consider starting to deploy them maybe slightly to the side of the trenches in the future. But that's something to think about for next time. Yeah, so a pretty good first turn for me, and I think I scored... No, I didn't score a point because Thies' objective is still in the zone. So maybe I should have concentrated on trying to kill his objective with my Storm Lancers on the first turn, but it just didn't occur to me, unfortunately. So then the following turn, so Thies moved up his Iron Fangs, most of which have gone now, as you can see. His Winter Guard took out one of my cavalry on the right. My Centurion moved around just to keep out of charge range of the Juggernaut, who's in the middle there, and to prepare for a charge on the next turn. So yeah, his Winter Guard took out one of my ponies. The Iron Fangs moved up, but I don't think they charged. I think I was too far away for him to charge. So they probably just advanced and kept in shield wall ready to absorb my charge. My horses on the left moved up. I'm getting the 2 rounds confused here. So yeah, the Iron Fangs moved up, stayed in shield guard. Winter Guard moved up, killed a couple of ponies, and the heavies moved up, I believe, taking shots. The Destroyer, I think, took a little bit of damage off one of the Stormclads. Then I decided to feat, and my trenches charged his Iron Fangs, and that turned out to be excellent. So I didn't feel like I needed my feat. If I could kill his Iron Fangs on this turn with the trenches, then I didn't feel like I needed my feat for the rest of the turn, for the rest of the game. So yeah, so I used it for the trenches. They charged the Iron Fangs, they rolled well, and power 14s on the charge is plenty for killing off armor 18 or 20. So they went down. There's only a couple of them left, so that was good. Finn took some shots. I think maybe took out one more of the Iron Fangs. The Storm Lancers on the left did some shooting, but I don't think they did much. Maybe they took out someone with some electro leaps or something like that. And yeah, as I said before, the Centurion just sort of circled around the threat range of the Juggernaut and made sure he was deep in that zone. Journeyman Warcaster is making sure he's within 6 inches but staying well away from everything else. And the Lancers, the 2 remaining Lancers on the right, took out about 4 or 5 Winter Guard between them, I believe. So another turn in, and so Ruin, yeah that's right, Ruin, who had been absorbing some souls from the Iron Fang pikemen, he went and charged one of my Storm Lancers on the left. Unfortunately, because of his facing, this put him out of the next turn. So he's facing right over to the left of the board there. So what I did is I put a trencher up behind him to just block him from walking anywhere in the next turn. The Juggernaut charged into the Centurion, I believe, or ran up into the Centurion. The Winter Guard took out the remaining horses on the right with those crazy sprays that they have. It's really good.
And yeah, I think the destroyer probably tried to shoot Maddox but missed, I think, unfortunately, because Maddox is within his line of sight for an assassination. Yeah, maybe did a couple of boxes to Maddox. And then on my turn I tried to turn it round on him and I tried to assassinate the Butcher. And all my luck changed. I just failed on everything, failed to hit him and failed to wound him with charging Storm Lancers, boosted shots from the Storm Clads, shooting with Finn, combined range shot from the trenches. Just wasn't enough to kill off the Butcher. I think I left him on 7 boxes or something, so I didn't even really get close to killing him. The Centurion, however, had a bit more luck and destroyed everything except the movement on the Juggernaut there. And then the following turn, Thies tried to assassinate Maddox, and he had exactly as much luck as I had assassinating Butcher. Just didn't work out. And Ruin moved round and walked up a bit. Couldn't charge anything because he didn't have line of sight because he was looking the wrong way. The Juggernaut tried to hit the Centurion, did a little bit of damage, I believe. And then on the following turn, on my turn after that, then I managed to get a charge with one of my Stormclads up onto the Butcher and managed to assassinate him. We just about had enough time on the death clock, and managed to attrition Khador again, which was quite nice. I missed the opportunity to take out his objective early on in the game, which would have meant scoring 3 points early, which would have been nice, but and would have given me an extra angle later in the game for winning on scenario. But yeah, my mistake. I wasn't focused on scenario. I was too worried about the Iron Fangs and the heavies coming towards me. But yeah, quite an interesting game, and it's good to know that I can attrition Khador with this list now. And as far as the other games were concerned, Thies played Chris, his Crix, and lost, and Bent lost as well against Chris's Crix. So Chris was the only player who won 2 games that day, so he was the winner of our little mini tournament. So well done, Chris, and I look forward to sometime playing my Maddox list against his nasty Goreshade Crix list. Okay, that's it. See you next time.